Hi everybody, a little different format today on Warrior Wednesday. We're going to be talking about why using checklists like we do in the aviation world could be one of the most important things to making you more proficient with your firearm. In my world, using checklists, whether I'm flying a helicopter or an airplane, may be the difference between life and death, because omitting one of these items might make the difference between a safe outcome and not. So why aren't we doing this when we're at home doing our dry practice? Now, notice I said dry practice instead of dry fire. So when we're practicing at home, in the office, the basement, somewhere where we have a good safe area, there should never be a pew-pew, right? No bang, no fires. Therefore, it's dry practice, not dry fire. I want to get that mentally ingrained in your head. So I've come up with just a little bit of a checklist that's kind of taken from various classes and schools I've done over the years, and just condensed it down to about 7 or 8 steps that will help you become more proficient. And I tell you what, if you can't get to the range because things are expensive right now, ammunition is like crazy, dry practicing at home can really keep your skills up. In fact, take advantage of this time of high ammo prices to get really good with your firearm in the comfort of your own home. So number one, unload. Okay, that's not just unloading your firearm, but unloading yourself. So let's start with the firearm here, Glock 19. I've already taken out the magazine, and I like to ask, what do you see? Not is it unloaded, but actually, what do you see? Well, in this case, what do you see? And you should be able to see an empty chamber, and I'm confirming, yes, I have an empty chamber. Now, unloading yourself. No ammunition on yourself, no extra magazines, nothing laying on the desk. I've taken my magazine and the round that was in the chamber, and I've locked it away so it's inaccessible to anybody, including myself, in our dry practice area, what some folks call your dry practice dojo. All right? So we're unloaded, step number one. Let's talk about step number two, and that is always use a temporary target. That is a target that you can put up and take back down. So I've printed out just a little sized down version of a silhouette with little head box and the thoracic cavity and then some little dots to practice on. So we're going to place that up, but again, it's temporary. So I'll put it up here on the wall, and there's our temporary target. Now the reason we do this is we don't want to have the habit of practicing on permanent objects like a light switch, a refrigerator, a television, a picture on the wall. That is because too many accidents happen where folks forget about the unload, step one, or maybe they have done their dry practicing and they're loaded for the day and they see, oh yeah, there's that picture on the wall. I'm just going to take one more press. Bang! Oh no, the gun was loaded. Now it's gone through the wall, hit wiring, maybe has traveled into the neighbor's house. You can see all the potential of big problems happening. So when we take that target down a little bit later, that alleviates that possibility. So always use a temporary target. Now, let's talk about a reasonable time limit. We don't want to dry practice over and over and over to the point where we become mentally or physically exhausted. So set a reasonable time period. Now, some of the best shooters I know start the day every single day with 10 dry presses. They just go down into their dry practice area, do their 10 presses, load back up, they're done, and they're off and out into the world. So if the moment chooses them, the most recent practice they have is just a few hours ago. So set a time limit that works for you. If you can do it every day, that's fantastic. If you can commit 10 or 15 minutes a day, that's even better, but really don't go past that because you start to get to diminishing returns. Now, if you've taken any of the active self-protection classes or you've taken some of my classes, we do this thing called neuro-linguistic programming, where we actually are having you talk as you shoot to kind of ingrain things and get it in your mind. So this step that is next, step number 4, verbally announce, dry practice has begun. And that gets in your mind, okay, this is real, we're going to do our dry presses, no ammunition, everything is set. We've got our safe area, we've got a brick wall behind the drywall here, so no chance of that round escaping if we were to have a horrible accident. We've got our temporary target, our gun is unloaded. You've gone through the first 4 steps, everything's good. Dry practice has begun. So at this point, we would do perfect practice. Again, perfect practice makes perfect. So if you start doing your motions and you snag your garment or you fumble a little bit on your draw or don't get a good grip to start with, stop. Stop right there, back up, do it over until you have it right. Or break things into little segments. So I'm just going to do a couple draws here just to show you. And in a future video, we'll get into the mechanics and everything of drawing and pressing and grip and all that. But for this thing, I just want you practicing perfectly the way you've been trained. And if you make a mistake, stop. Maybe make it into little segments, like 3 or 4 different segments rather than trying to rush and do everything together. So nice, smooth, perfect practice. All right. So I'm concentrating here on no extra movement. Don't want my shoulders hiking up. Don't want my head crushing down to the gun. Want to bring the gun up to the eye level. So I'm nice and relaxed. So we would do this maybe 10 times in a row, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And at this point then, we're going to, again, announce verbally, dry practice is over. Dry practice is over. So that's now shutting off our brain, saying that practice time is over. We're going to be moving on to something else. So at this point, I'm going to go up to the wall. And I'm going to remove the temporary target. Therefore, I am not tempted to take any more shots because the temporary target is now down and we only practice on our temporary target. So dry practice over, the target is down. Now we can say it's time to go back into the real world. We would open up our gun safe, insert a loaded magazine, rack our slide, do a press check, make sure everything's good, put the gun in our holster, off to work. No more dry practice. Hope this helps. Simple steps. Again, unload yourself and your firearm, temporary target on a safe wall, a reasonable time period for your dry practice. Verbally announce dry practice has started. Do your perfect practice. When you're done after 10 or 15 minutes, announce again dry practice has ended. Remove your temporary target. Make yourself ready to go out into the real world. Join us again on the next Warrior Wednesday as we continue to bring you tips and interviews to help you not only in the world of self-defense, but promotion of the Second Amendment.